দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ বিশ্ব জনসংখ্যা দিবস 2014 নিয়ে আরটিভির বিশেষ অনুষ্ঠানে আপনাদের সঙ্গে আছে আমি সৈয়দ আশিক রহমান। আমাদের আজকের অতিথি বাংলাদেশে নিযুক্ত জাতিসংঘ জনসংখ্যা তহবিল UNFPA এর কান্ট্রি রিপ্রেজেন্টেটিভ আর্জেন্টিনা মাতাভেল আছেন, পপুলেশন কাউন্সিলের কান্ট্রি রিপ্রেজেন্টেটিভ ডক্টর ওবাইদুর রব এবং বাংলাদেশে নিযুক্ত জাতিসংঘের মহিলা বিষয়ক সংস্থা UN উইমেনের কান্ট্রি রিপ্রেজেন্টেটিভ ক্রিস্টিন হান্টার। Welcome everybody to RTV Studio. Miss Argentina, please tell theme of the day.
The World Population Day is meant to draw attention of people, but especially policymakers and decision makers, on the importance of putting people at the center of their development plans. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. You make all these development plans and you're not thinking about the people. And that is why the World Population Day every year changes its topic to different pressing issues of the world. This year is a very interesting topic and very timely, and it is investing in youth. Why timely? One, we are marking the 20 years of Cairo Population Conference when countries have agreed to invest in comprehensive sexuality education for all people, especially for young people. They have agreed also on addressing gender inequalities, and I'm glad that our colleague from UN Women is here to probably help us understand a bit more of what progress has been done or what we need to do. They have also agreed to reduce maternal mortality 2/3. And these indicators have then been rolled into the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, which next year come to an end also for review. And as the world prepares the post-2015 development agenda, it is very important to review all these issues. And this topic of investment in youth was very carefully selected to signify the importance that this population cohort must take. They must be included in the discussions, not just incorporating their issues without them. They
Great.
have to be consulted and included.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, Miss Argentina just talking about the young people. So what do you think young population of Bangladesh is an important topic nowadays?
Definitely there is no discussion whether they are important or not important. Young people are the future of the country, any country. But particularly for Bangladesh, with the high fertility in the past 20 years, we have a large cohort of young people entering every year in the labor force. And it will be continuing for another 30 to 40 years. If we can use these young people, skill, their education, convert them to economic benefit, which we call demographic dividend, country will be a richer country. But how we do it, that is the question. It is not a given thing, you have to make it. So considering all these demographic issues in the country, for the next 20 years, we have to invest on young people, investing on education, investing their health. And again, from SSC to HSC, there are approximately 600,000 left. So if you take these leftover students who are in different stages, convert them to the economically active workforce, send them to Middle East. So you can talk about demographic dividend, you could talk about human resources, manpower, but if you don't make them technically competent, your overpopulation or over excess population may burden, and which may create political instability in the country. You see the problem in the Arab countries, Arab Spring, the young, uneducated, unemployed youths created a lot of problem in these countries. So on one side, definitely young people is an asset. On the other side, you have to make them an asset, otherwise they will be a burden for you. And this is the window period is only for 30 years. If you don't do it in the next 30 years, you are done.
Well, thank you. How we could make awareness on our young generation?
We need young people, but also adults, to understand that young girls as well as young boys have a lot to contribute. And they need to be able to make those contributions, not just in the household, not just as mothers. That's a very important role, as is the role of fathers. But young girls also need to be able to make those contributions as teachers, as scientists, as farmers, as leaders. And so for that, they need access to education. And that education has to support them to use whatever their skills and talents are. So some young girls may be great at things that are more traditional for women, and that may be what they love. So they may be really love designing clothes and tailoring. And others might be great extension workers for the Ministry of Agriculture. So they should do that. So we need to really give them the opportunity to build on their skills. And to do that, then both girls and boys have to be respectful of one another. So we need both girls and boys to understand that they each have rights. And for example, they both have rights to go to school without being harassed or without being discriminated against. So we need to build that kind of respect for each other, respect for equality among girls and among boys, and they need to be supported by the adults in their lives.
Dr. Rahman, Argentina, Bangladesh is a huge populated country. What are the key challenges?
If you think about the problem, there are so many problems. So,
Exactly.
population-related problem, each and every problem is available right now in the country. So we don't discuss about the population-related problem. What we can do, if you think about with this, what we are expecting that the country's population will be stabilizing around 210 million, between 200 to 210 million. And right now we have around 150 to 160 million. So we'll be adding another 50 to 60 million. But the one thing we'll be more adding in the urban areas. So urbanization will be a major problem for if you think about the population related issues in this country in the coming years. 100 million people will be living in the urban areas in near future. Growth of these cities, like some of these cities will be mega cities, virtually they will be out of control, governance related issues. But basic reproductive health issues, you have to provide the services. Education, you have to provide the services. So those basic human requirements, accommodation, food, these will be there. But one good thing for us is that related to food grains, we have now producing 33 million metric ton of food grains, which seems to be sufficient for even for 200 million population. The food grain is not only item, we have to provide them education, health related services. We are talking about attracting foreign investment. Why a foreign investor to come to a country where it takes 2 hours to go from one place to another places, they will move to a country where they take 20 minutes. So you have to think about these are not emotional issues. For broader economic perspective of the country, we have to take major decision or the specific decision how we can govern these issues.
Food security is one thing where Bangladesh has made tremendous progress. But where there's still a really big problem is with undernutrition. In terms of the amount of food, still there's so many children who are stunted. Girls and women are being malnourished. And part of that is because women don't have as much say in the household. So they're not valued as much, so they may not get as much food. So when there's food's a bit tight, the women and girls may get the food last and they may get the less nutritious food. As a result, they're undernourished. And when undernourished women have children, those children are more likely to be undernourished. And I'm sure that Argentina wants to talk about this, but we know that even the worst is when teenage girls become mothers.
Yes.
They're already malnourished, then for sure their babies are also going to be malnourished.
Argentina, would you like to add some?
Yes, by all means. I mean, all these issues are interrelated. On the one hand, we have a dream, the goal, the desired state of affairs that we want, where Bangladesh wants to get to. And the other issue is, as we are saying, it's people, the best asset. And as my colleague Chris Hunter is saying, undernutrition or malnutrition are issues that are so critical to that desired goal. The children or the babies come from a very disadvantaged state if you are born to an adolescent mother. And this is a vicious cycle because they go through school underutilizing their capacities to develop. And then we become young adults and adults whose full potential is not fully unleashed and used for the benefit of society. So just imagine that person had good nutrition, good sexuality education, to know that they should not fall pregnant early, to choose when to get pregnant. Because remember, the girls often are not even choosing. They don't know. They're just getting pushed into this adult life, sexuality life, when they're not ready. So they find themselves expectant and giving birth, but they didn't know anything, and they may not ever know. So it's important to provide them with comprehensive sexuality education when they're adolescents in schools. Even though we're saying the population is the best asset for Bangladesh, we want more people, but what kinds of people, what quality of people do we want? What will be their productivity? Do we want Bangladesh to be branded as low-skilled, even in our migrants, as we are now? Because we are exporting low-skilled labor.
Yeah. If you think about the number, as Argentina mentioned, number of the children born to this mother, there are approximately 750,000. Our adolescent fertility contribute approximately 1/4 of our total number of fertilities. So Bangladeshi women, normally they complete their family size by age 23, 24. So instead of 23, 24, because they start their family life around 15, 16.
Not only, I mean, a child or a baby born to an adolescent mother or teenage mother is less likely to survive her first, second, or fifth year, because that mother is so young that she doesn't know how to provide care for this child. Even when they are with in-laws, most of the burden of rearing this child is with the mother. And therefore, we really, and the knowledge, each year of education that the girl has is reflected, is plowed back in the quality of their children, of tomorrow's society.
Argentina will talk about women rights and consequences after a short break. দর্শক দেখছেন বিশ্ব জনসংখ্যা দিবস 2014 নিয়ে আরটিভির বিশেষ অনুষ্ঠান। এই পর্যায়ে নিচ্ছি বিরতি, ফিরছি একটু পরে, সে পর্যন্ত আমাদের সাথে থাকুন। দর্শক আবারও আমন্ত্রণ বিশ্ব জনসংখ্যা দিবস 2014 নিয়ে আরটিভির বিশেষ অনুষ্ঠানে। আপনাদের সঙ্গে আছে Mr. Ashik Rahman. Welcome again to the studio. Miss Argentina, before the break, we talk about the women right or women empowerment.
Yes, as I said, this is having these young girls deprived of their right to attend education and to be children. It's actually a major breach of human rights. It's an issue of not letting them enjoy the full potential of what they could, because as the society develops, as Bangladesh becomes wealthier, these groups of people are trapped in a cycle of poverty. We see the indicators of poverty going down. That's true. But still you have a good chunk of people. And when you look at absolute numbers, it's mind-boggling. And it's important to look not only at national averages. We have to go down to the regions, to the geographic disparities, population group disparities. Only then can a nation say, yes, we are wealthy, we are developed, when you're not leaving anyone behind. No child should be left behind. And the way... Especially
in our coastal areas where people living remote areas.
Even the slum areas.
Slum
look
areas.
At the people living in a condition in slum areas.
Slum areas, yeah.
Argentina mentioned that you don't take average always. If you take the average, you may say that you are looking, like a rosy picture, because our base is so large. If you think about 150 million, 60 million population, 5% is a big number. Like one of the
even sometimes girls, they don't have right to even say about their marriage or.
Not sometimes, always. It is always never. It is
Yeah.
not sometimes, because these girls who are marrying age 15, 16, they are
14
not.
even.
Yeah, 14.
14,
They are
14
not even asked about their consent. If you go to the books, you will find that somebody has given consent on behalf of them or signed.
Not only what we're trying to do, marrying off these children, these girls, is making them almost like factories of reproduction. We have to let them have the information and the education to make their decisions. We have to have informed decisions.
The right, again, comes the right, yes. Well, Christina, how we may relate with women rights and family planning issues?
Well, certainly one step, just to pick up on what my colleagues have been talking about, is we need, as a whole country, just to make the commitment to end child marriage. UN agencies and development partners are supporting it. So we need commitment from every level of society to allow children to be children, and marriage can only be for adults. So over the age of 18.
And what about family planning issue?
Well, then family planning starts as an activity with adults, but the learning has to be, as Argentina was saying, there has to be comprehensive sexuality education for children in schools so that, they learn whatever's appropriate for their age. Different ages can absorb different kinds of information, but throughout, they learn how to look after themselves, how to get the health care they need, what kind of decisions they need to make about their reproductive health, later about family planning, but they also need to learn about respectful relationships. So when boys see their fathers being violent towards their mothers, they're much more likely, by statistics, to grow up and be abusive as an adult. When girls observe this in their household, they're much more likely to accept that kind of treatment in future.
Well, Mr. Rob, what are the consequences and our population, the momentum of population right now?
So definitely population momentum is there, but advantage of population momentum is your demographic dividend. If you can use train human resource, we can generate more resources in this country. But at the same time, this momentum should be looked at from broader perspective. If you can slow the momentum, your total population size will be also smaller. Momentum issue should be dealt with family planning, use of more family planning method, and momentum issue also can be looked at from demographic dividend, which is more technical education.
Argentina, what basic steps are taking UNFPA, the theme of World Population Day?
UNFPA has worked and continues and will continue to step up its, accelerate its investments, making decisions and participate, first stay longer in school, and then participate in the labor force, in the economy, as per their desires. So our constant focus will continue to be that. On the other hand, it's really continuing working with the planners, with Ministry of Planning, for example, helping them with information, policy briefs, and documentation, so that they can incorporate and include. We are advocating for inclusion of these young people in the policy dialogues. The country does not have a unified youth policy, for example. There is no revised population policy. That population policy, sorry Ram to interrupt you, is that it needs to be developed with the participation of the young people, and it needs to make its way into the 5-year government development plan.
Well, how we may strengthen on government different initiatives on population planning?
This particular moment, our office is busy working on a study. In fact, we've been consulting with Population Council, and during the coming few months, we will be commissioning a study to look into these very issues of population trends and their implications in development. And we've been discussing with the Ministry of Planning at the level of Secretary of GED, and he is very interested because I think they have understood the importance of incorporating and mainstreaming population issues into the development plan. And so UNFPA, along with other partners in the country, is already working on a study and policy briefs that will be fed into the consultation process to the 5-year development plan.
Well, Ms. Christine, what do you say about women empowerment?
Well, I think there's women empowerment's a good thing, but I think there's a number of ways that it's directly linked to this topic. As my colleagues were saying, when women have more information, but also when they're able to participate in decisions about their own lives, when to have children, for example, when to get married, when to have children, then we have women having children later, better spaced, and therefore we have population growing more in the way that that as a country we want it to grow, to have a strong, healthy population, not more than the country can manage, but really support the country's development goals. So that's one connection. Another really important connection is that empowerment for women is also about women being able to engage fully in the economy and in the social and political life of their communities. And so when women are able to access decent work, work that has fair pay, and that gives them safe working conditions, then that helps grow the economy in Bangladesh overall. It also brings more money back into households and supports all those other development goals like good education, good health, good nutrition. So that's important. And then the other part of empowerment I'd really like to highlight also picks up on what Argentina was saying about getting the voices of young people into decision making. We need to have the voices of young women and young men heard at all levels of decision making. We know there's a lot of decisions get made at a very local level, and then there's other decisions that get made by the national government. And at all those levels, young women as well as young men need to be bringing forward their interests. So yes, tell us what their needs are, but also tell us the kind of country they want to live in. What's the world, what's the country they want to create together? Because it's their future, so them having that kind of leadership voice is going to make a big difference to the kind of decisions that the country makes, and it's very empowering for them. I mean, we all know from our experience, when you get to actually express your interests and your beliefs about what's most important, and you get to engage in those dialogue, then you really have a sense of contributing. And I think that's what empowerment comes down to.
Well, we are almost end of this discussion. Any message on the day for our viewers?
But definitely we should invest on youth, make them technically competent workforce, because we need them. And if we, even if we want to export outside, we need a technically competent people. And secondly, investing on youth is not only on education, also investing youth on health. So we should also invest on the young mothers, if they are married, and if they are not, make sure that no child marriage in this country, at least eliminate child marriage in next 5 years if we can. We can do it again in this thing. It's the society, they have to take the responsibility that we're not marrying our girls before age 18. Finish.
Well, Ms. Argentina, any message on this day for our viewers?
Yes, I will appeal to the young people to also take control, take responsibility of their civic rights, and seek knowledge, seek information, and see opportunities for participation. Don't just sit by and wait. It doesn't come on a platter. You have to look for it. So the information is there. They have to read more and pay attention to their education. And young girls, do not get married too early. Stay in school.
Thank you. Ms. Christine, any message to our viewers on this day?
I would say that, yes, young women and young men as citizens of the country need to take that opportunity, have a voice, work together, and that adults in the communities need to recognize the rights and value of all our girls and boys, no matter girl, boy, poor, rich, what kind of community they come from. They're the citizens of our country, and we need to recognize and support them.
Thanks everybody to join with us. দর্শক, অতিথিদের আলোচনায় এটি স্পষ্ট যে জনসংখ্যাকে যদি জনশক্তিতে রূপান্তরিত করা যায়, তাহলে এটি হতে পারে দেশের জন্য এক বিরাট সম্পদ। আমাদের দেশের যুব সমাজকে উদ্বুদ্ধ করতে এবং তাদেরকে সঠিক পথে কাজে লাগাতে সরকারের পাশাপাশি আন্তর্জাতিক সম্প্রদায়ও এগিয়ে আসবে। ভবিষ্যতে এই তরুণ প্রজন্মের হাত ধরেই দেশ এগিয়ে যাবে উন্নতির দিকে। এই প্রত্যাশায় শেষ করছি আজকের অনুষ্ঠান। এতক্ষণ আমাদের সাথে থাকার জন্য ধন্যবাদ।